What if there were a letter from a devil that tempts humans? What if it were advice from an experienced higher-level devil to a novice devil? In C.S. Lewis's masterpiece, The Screwtape Letters, today, we will explore the nature of human weakness and temptation. From the perspective of a devil, the Screwtape Letters consists of 31 letters written by a senior demon, named Screwtape, to his nephew Wormwood. And here we will explore the 10 most important letters. His goal is to lead the human, referred to as the patient, away from faith. However, as you read this book, you will paradoxically learn how to maintain your faith. And I hope you will learn this method through the 10 most important letters from now on. First, how to control the human mind.
Wormwood, my beloved nephew, you are still young and inexperienced. So let me tell you the most fundamental principles of dealing with patience. The most important thing is to make sure that humans do not think. When humans think deeply, God becomes dangerously close. Therefore, your first task is to prevent him from engaging in philosophical contemplation or asking serious questions. The method is simple. Keep him busy, getting ready for work, phone notifications, news, social media, relationship issues, entertainment. All of these become our weapons. When he tries to think of an important question, whisper, "Let's think about that later," and immediately play a YouTube video he likes, or suddenly make him feel hungry. Also, if he thinks about faith, make him doubt it by saying it's illogical and unscientific. On the contrary, we should make him feel that accepting the life we want is realistic and rational. Instead of harboring doubts about the divine, let us move on to lighter concerns like, what should I eat for lunch today? As this continues, the patient ends up spending each day meaninglessly unaware of what they truly desire, and ultimately, it becomes ours. Your uncle, Screwtape.
Second, how to use religion.
Wormwood, religion is a dangerous thing, but if we use it well, it can become a powerful weapon. If we cannot completely prevent humans from believing in religion, then distort it to make them focus on something other than God. For example, it would be good to make faith mistaken for social status. He will be more concerned about his image in the church rather than true faith. Moreover, if religion is encouraged to be combined with politics or ideology, he will no longer serve God, but will instead serve the belief system he has created. In particular, it would be even better if he is made to judge others through his faith. I believe correctly, but that person believes in the wrong way. If this happens, he will fall into pride, and his relationship with God will gradually fade. The most important thing is to prevent him from finding peace through religion. Instead, if religion becomes a tool for constant debate and conflict, he will live increasingly in anxiety and anger, even while believing in God. In that case, it will inevitably become ours. Your uncle, Screwtape.
Third, how to weaken the power of prayer.
Wormwood, prayer is dangerous. The moment humans communicate directly with God, we suffer a fatal blow. But fortunately, there are many ways to weaken the effects of prayer. First, when he prays, let him envision a distorted image of himself, rather than an actual God. If he only thinks of God as a great old man or abstract energy, he will not be able to establish a true relationship. Additionally, it would be better if he feels prayer as an obligation. He makes prayer something that must be done. If one feels guilty for not praying, they will naturally drift away from prayer. When prayer deviates from spiritual communion and becomes a habitual act, it is as if we have already won. Your uncle, Screwtape.
Fourth, use pride in self-esteem.
Wormwood, humans have a tendency to overestimate their own morality. This should be actively utilized. If he tries to be humble, intervene immediately and make him think, "I am truly a humble person." Then he will quickly fall into arrogance. In particular, promoting religious arrogance is the most effective. If one develops the thought that I believe in God better than others, so I am superior, he will no longer look to God, but will instead look at himself. Your uncle, Screwtape.
Fifth, tempt slowly but surely.
Wormwood. The most effective way to corrupt a human is not through dramatic change, but by gradually breaking them down. If you make him commit small sins repeatedly, he will soon find himself in an irreversible state. Lead him to think at first, "This much should be fine," and later, you just need to make him think, "Since it's already come to this, let's just give up." If you do this, he will gradually sink deeper into the swamp. Your uncle, Screwtape.
Sixth, use pleasure and comfort to make people lazy.
Wormwood, humans seek pleasure, but we must never allow their joy to be directed towards God. God created humans to feel gratitude and love through healthy pleasures. But if we intervene, we can distort that joy. First, let him focus on momentary pleasures: food, alcohol, sexual indulgence, entertainment, gambling. These will all lead him away from God. The important thing is to make it so that one becomes excessively immersed. If he drinks, it should not just be for simple enjoyment, but rather to induce a state where he cannot help but get drunk. If he enjoys leisure, it should not just be about resting, but rather to make him waste time in front of a screen all day. When he offers a prayer of gratitude to God, let him believe that joy comes solely from material things. Then he will increasingly crave the comforts of the world rather than seeking God. Your uncle, Screwtape.
Seventh, amplify fear and make them seek stability in the world, not in God.
Wormwood. Humans are born with fear. What we need to do is manipulate that fear. God intended for humans to learn trust through fear, but we must overwhelm them with terror. The best thing is to use the news of the world. Through the news, constantly inject him with anxieties like war, disease, and economic crises, and make him doubt, in such an unstable world, does God really exist? Make him worry about the future and lead him to rely on money, power, and fame for safety. Especially when his faith begins to deepen, whisper to him, "Will the God you believe in really protect you?" Then he will come to depend more on money, insurance, pensions, and political power than on God. Then he will eventually become ours. Your uncle, Screwtape.
Eighth, distort human relationships and foster selfishness instead of love.
Wormwood. Humans desire love, but we must thoroughly twist it. God intended for humans to learn how to sacrifice for one another, but we must make them mistake love for, what can this person give me? Use romance to make them judge what they think is love based on, what can this person give me? Whisper to those who are married, is your spouse making you happy enough? The same goes for the relationship between parents and children. You can instill the thought, I did this for you, so why aren't you reciprocating? Ultimately, human relationships will deteriorate amidst constant disappointment and expectation. Make him love you while he says he loves you, but in reality, make him love only himself. Then he will become increasingly lonely, and eventually he will come to our side. Your uncle, Screwtape.
Ninth, manipulate the concept of time to make people lose sight of the present.
Wormwood. Humans act as if time is infinite, but we know it is not. What matters is making sure they do not live in the present. Make him cling to the past. If he lives in regret and lingering feelings, he will be unable to see the present. On the contrary, instilling anxiety and worry about the future can also be effective. If he keeps repeating the question, what will happen in the future? He will not be able to fully live today. God wants humans to live in the present, but we must ensure they remain trapped in the past or future. If that happens, he will live more and more in anxiety and helplessness. Your uncle, Screwtape.
10th, how to make humans doubt the existence of God and come to us.
Wormwood. This is the final stage. What we need to do is simple. It is to make humans doubt the gods even while believing in them. Make him question, will he really listen even while praying? Even while attending church, make him think, is this all just a trick? Our ultimate goal is to make him doubt God while pretending to have faith. Just because humans abandon God, it doesn't mean that he immediately becomes ours. However, if one believes in God but lacks certainty, he will gradually, yet surely, walk towards us. Your uncle, Screwtape.
Final victory. When the patient ultimately keeps his faith and goes to heaven, Screwtape despairs and scolds Wormwood. He is greatly disappointed that Wormwood was unable to prevent the patient's faith from deepening, and could not shake the human until the very last moment. At the moment a human faces death, all temptations come to an end, and the devil can no longer control him. This signifies a complete defeat for the devil. On the other hand, the patient meets God in heaven and is liberated from all the whispers of the devil. This final moment represents the greatest victory from a human perspective, and a total failure for the devil. Screwtape expresses anger towards Wormwood, hinting that the ultimately failed, lower demon will face punishment from the higher demons. This conclusion emphasizes that maintaining faith until the end is ultimately the greatest victory for humans, showing that all of the devil's plans are powerless in the face of God's grace. This book is not just a simple religious text. It's a book that makes us reflect on the temptations and struggles we experience in life. How about you? If you have moments of temptation you've experienced or points from this book that impressed you, please share them in the comments. If you found the video helpful, please like, subscribe, and set notifications. We will return with more interesting topics next time. Thank you for watching.